On your feet! Get them going!
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be. Welcome back to Cross Examinations Live. I am your host, Mike S. Miller, and I totally forgot to send this out to the Peanut Gallery. Give me a second here. Welcome once again. But you figure I'd know how to do all this stuff by now. But no, of course not. I never do anything, right? Do I? Bam. At everyone. All right, let's get these people in here. Maybe drop this link a couple other places. No, not the memes. Not the memes. What's up with everybody for today? I actually got up at a decent hour today, and now I'm barely late for the show. What's up, Arlene? Dark Admiral, what's up, guys? So today's topic, I don't want to continuously go back to the same well for this atheism topic, but Lou did respond. Lou, why don't you just watch the show and we can talk? You know what I'm saying? We can debate. Actually, not debate, just have a conversation. Have a conversation, not like some sort of an organized debate thing. Like, I spend way too much time watching. Oh man, I can't wait for this Alex O'Connor, David Wood debate to go live, because I watched a couple videos about it, like one from the moderator that set it up, and then the other one from God Logic, who apparently got to share his question and answer with Alex O'Connor. That's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. The thing I like about Alex is that he is intellectually honest. I think he's very curious. I love that about not just anybody. Curiosity did not kill the cat. I think, now that I think about it, is the whole curiosity killed the cat thing like some sort of psyop to try to get people not to be curious, not to question the status quo or what we've been taught in school or even in church, right? I'm not one of these Christians who's like, don't question anything the church teaches. Question it, because the truth doesn't mind being questioned. If you seek the truth, you will find it. And that includes if your pastor says something, look, your pastor is going to be wrong about something at some point, right? He's not Jesus. I hate to break it to you if you think your pastor is Jesus. He's not Jesus. Does the Holy Spirit speak through him at times? I'm sure. I'm quite sure. I very much needed the particular message from Sunday. But that doesn't mean they're going to be perfect and error proof in their teaching, their doctrine, their theology. Well, hopefully their doctrine. Hopefully they got their doctrine right all the time. But there's a whole bunch of churches out there with a bad doctrine, and maybe I believe some bad doctrine. I don't know. That's why you should question everything. Hold fast to that which is true. That's what the Bible teaches. I don't know what verse it is because I don't memorize chapter and verse numbers. Should I? It might make me sound smarter. I just know what the Bible says in general. I don't have the whole thing memorized. That'd be cool. I don't have perfect recall. That too would be awesome. Maybe I should start praying for that. Lord, give me a better memory. Give me perfect recall for chapters and verses and what the word says and what the word means. That'd be awesome. That's a great prayer. I should ask that more often. Dark Admiral says satisfaction brought him back again, as the rest of the saying. As is the rest of the saying. Satisfaction brought him back. Oh, curiosity killed the cat. Satisfaction brought him back again. Oh, that's really? I'd never heard that. Hello, Mike. How is the now granddad doing? I'm doing just fine. Thank you very much. I mean, if you were here yesterday, you know that I have my own. Everyone has challenges in their lives. I am not immune to challenges in my life. But you just hold on to Romans 8:28. Hey, I did. Romans 8:28. For all things. Let me remind you, all things work for good for those who love the Lord and are the called according to his purposes. I feel called according to his purposes. And that's all I want to do. I just want to fulfill his will. All I want to be is a tool in your hand. Right? So it doesn't matter if I lose everything. I mean, I don't want to ask to be Job. I definitely don't want to ask to be Job. But even for Job, he was the called according to his purpose, and all that bad stuff that happened to him, it was all for good. It was all ultimately for good. As we're going through Job now, I can explain that. I have had very, very rough patches and bad things and grievous deaths in my life. And all things work for good, even if you don't understand it at the time. You're all here, so you all know the story about my dad, but it's like a long story. It takes like 20 minutes to tell. And all the bad that he went through, everything that he went through was ultimately coalesced in his being saved right before he died. So, but you didn't see it going through it. You didn't see it going through it, but you saw the way the carpet was woven together after. You intended it for bad. God intended it for good. Don't know which book, chapter, and verse it is. Right. Also, new animated Predator movie coming to Hulu and D+. It's called Predator: Killer of Killers. Okay. That's interesting. God does see it through. Always. Always. And again, I could lose everything. And I just always think of the Hamlet thing. I could be bounded in the nutshell and count myself something of infinite space if only I did not have bad dreams. And I'm paraphrasing that very badly. But that kind of has this same thing. It's like I could live on the street with a rock for a pillow and a newspaper for a blanket, and I would count myself blessed. I would count it as it's for good, whatever it is. The attitude is gratitude, right? If you are grateful to the Lord, you could have nothing and be joyful. If you have envy in your heart, you could live in Trump Plaza in a gilded apartment with a bank with trillions of dollars in it, and you will still be miserable. It's not what you got that makes you happy. It's not your situation that makes you happy. It is your attitude of gratitude. And and that's another thing, stress, worrying about stuff because you're not trusting in the Lord. It's so funny, huh? It's like all this stuff is it's meant to give you a better, more happy, peaceful, purpose-driven life, as opposed to envy, lust, greed, covetousness, coveting. Oh my gosh, this idea of just wanting what other people have, keeping up with the Joneses. jealousy and envy and all of that stuff. It's just destructive to your life in general and your relationships. How many people do you know who have just destroyed their relationships out of malice and greed and jealousy, all this kind of stuff? We watch it on YouTube all the time. Who just showed up? Hey, Melissa. Hello, Melissa. All right. That said, atheism is emotional. Let's go to what our good friend Brooklyn Lou the Skeptic came back with from yesterday's video. Mike, you are all over the place, says Brooklyn Lou. I do not have faith that something came from nothing. I literally do not believe something came from nothing. No matter how many times you say it, does not make this a true statement. So to be absolutely clear, again, I do not believe something came from nothing. I told you I should not have used the word ignorant. All right, is he going to? All right, let me read the whole thing this time, and then I'll go back. I told you I should not have used the word ignorant exactly because it is virtually synonymous with agnostic. Good. I literally explain how this does not apply to things that are unknowable. This may go over your head. Don't you condescend to talk to me, Brooklyn Lou? I do not know if this is the case. I do think you must have been told things that are simply not true about atheism, what atheism actually is. I grew up agnostic, bro. You grew up Christian. Don't even start. It is not a credible idea in academia that atheism is a belief or a belief system. You got it right when you say you do not understand. Here's the thing. I understand better than you do. Because there's no other option. I don't want to regurgitate this from yesterday, but you don't seem to comprehend there's no other option. There's only two sides of the coin. Theism, atheism. Theism, atheism. Theism means God did it. Because you have to start somewhere. You can't start with the claim that the universe is as it always has been, eternalism, whatever that's called, or the universe. That is also faith. Whatever your claim is, whether it's eternalism or it's the universe had a beginning, which the Big Bang, the math seems to add up for the universe having a beginning, and I don't know any real credible scientist who denies that. If you do, bring them up. But it is a claim. So those are your options. God did it. The universe came from nothing and created itself. The universe has always existed. Both of these require just as much faith as the God did it. You have to, okay, just tell me on your next missive, which do you believe? Because you have no third choice. Either the universe came from nothing, which you're saying, to be absolutely clear, you do not believe the universe came from nothing, which means you believe the universe is eternal. I'm not going to put my other finger down because that would make me do the bird. Although if you're in Britain, I guess I'm doing the bird anyways. You then believe that the universe is eternal, purely conjecturing as a matter of faith. That is a faith position because you're going against modern science, which says the universe had a beginning. So you don't believe science and you don't believe in God. What is your actual position then, Lou? I'd like to know. There he is. Who in academia says that atheism is a belief system? I'm telling you, there is no other option. It's not a religious system. There's a difference, Lou. It's not a religious system, but it is a belief system. You have to. I believe the universe or cosmos always existed, and this has absolutely zero to do with atheism. The universe had to have a origin. This is an issue of origins, right? And once you go past about 6,000 years ago, where we were actually about 4,500 years ago, where we actually have written records of mankind and history. Anything prior to that is an issue of faith. Even on the Christian side, it's an issue of faith. The theist side, the atheist side, it's a matter of faith or belief. Okay. Because you're not really putting your belief in that. All right. I'll use the word belief. So going back beyond what is written history, which is only 4,500 years old, and that's China. It's all belief. And you just said it. I believe the universe always existed. And you believe that because you don't have another option. Because if the universe had a beginning, the universe had a beginner. And you don't want to believe God did it because you don't. You simply, Lou, just admit it. This is an emotional response. You don't want to believe in God. Just admit it. It's fine. It's fine that you don't want to. We get it. Something happened to you in your life that caused you grief enough to dismiss everything you previously believed in. I know. You believe. Belief is faith, right? Well, okay, belief is not faith. I catch myself in my own definitions. Faith is belief in action. Now, how do you act? Well, actually, that is your faith is in believing that the universe did not require a God. And now your actions of that belief lead you to live a life where you reject that there is a God who will judge you for your actions, for your lack of faith. Right? So that is your faith. That is your belief in action. Your life is a testimony to your belief in action. I use the word faith. Maybe you should get him in a voice chat to better argue his position. Well, then he'd have to go through Job with me. Actually, I wouldn't mind that, but we are going to have to get into Job. Lou, I'll bring you on if you want to have a discussion. After reading a lot of the hypotheses put out there, I think all belief requires some form of faith. See, I always think all faith requires belief. Science seems to suggest now that there was an origin. Yeah, ever since the Big Bang and the math worked out. The universe has an origin. The universe has a 0 point, a singularity, which I know that. Sure, I would love to come in. All right. I'm just going to drop the invite right in the chat. I'm only going to bring Lou on, at least for now. Come on in, Lou. See if we can unwrap your thing. I was going to say enigma, but I'm like, wait, does that work? I don't know. I don't think that works. Really. I was heading down a road. I saw the street sign. And then I said, is that really where I want to turn? And then I decided no. Come on in, Brooklyn Lou. And why do you say skeptic? Because a skeptic is open to being wrong. You're a cynic. There's a difference. A skeptic would never say he's an atheist. A skeptic would never take the position that there is no God. Actually, that'd be a great discussion right there. How are you going to say you're a skeptic and take a position that there is no God. That's a cynic. A cynic will reject any evidence put before them before they even consider it. But that seems to be what atheists always do. Those who claim they're atheists and call themselves skeptics, but really they're just cynics. So solipsism seems to imply, except for the knowledge of one's own existence, everything else cannot be known. Yeah, that's the what if this is all in my head? That's no way to run a that was weird. No way to run a culture or a country or a town or anything. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Brooklyn Lou. What's up, Brookie?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Excellent choice of poster, by the way.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
You like Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, me too.
All right,
Only as a movie star. I never really look at her.
No, I mean she was great. She was a great actor. Ah, gosh, dang, her life was just so bitter. Not bitter. What's the word?
Tragic.
Tragic. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it just kills me.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's not the topic of the day.
So anyway, I wanted to definitely talk about this atheist and agnostic thing.
Yeah. Why don't you call yourself an agnostic?
I do call myself an agnostic.
Then why are you arguing about atheism?
Because I call myself both. And you're like, how could that be? Right?
I don't understand the atheist agnostic position. Why don't you just say you're an agnostic and let it be?
Because they're not mutually exclusive positions. I'm actually both, right? And this is commonly understood by.
This is like being a libertarian conservative.
No, it's like being a Baptist Christian. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna look. The floor is yours. Explain.
All right. You can. I mean, I guess I could use that just to explain a little bit. You can be a Baptist Christian, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if someone says they're a Christian, that doesn't necessarily mean they are Baptist or they are Lutheran or
Correct.
All right. So atheism simply means, which I've sent you the definition. It simply means I do not believe in any supernatural gods. That's it. That's what makes me an atheist.
Define agnostic.
Okay. Now, I'm also agnostic. Okay. And what makes me agnostic is that I do not know, and that's that word knowledge, right? Very important part of this. I do not know if there is a God because it's something that is unknowable to me. Okay. So I'm both atheist and agnostic. That's how these words are used, Mike.
I just disagree because making the agnostic position, why would you then? Let's see. The atheism is the claim. Because your belief is a claim.
No, it's not. That's
how
where you're
can it
missing.
not be?
This is
when I say serious. I believe in Jesus, I'm claiming that Jesus is real.
Yes, that's something that you may be claiming. I mean, but you're speaking for atheists.
That's what my belief.
You're speaking for another person, Mike.
But that's what my belief claims.
Okay, atheism is different. You're equating your belief to what an atheist is, and you're mistaken. I'm sorry, but you're not understanding one aspect to it. And all I could do is the best I can to explain it to you. All right. I am atheist simply by definition of the word. I do not believe. It's the word belief. I do not believe in a God. I am agnostic because I readily say I do not know if a God exists. And also, I also feel it is unknowable. So I perfectly fit both definitions at the same time because they're not mutually exclusive things, just like you can be a Christian and a Baptist. It's the same thing.
No, because Baptist is a category of
Yes.
Christianity.
Yes. Yes.
So is agnosticism the category of atheism, or is atheism the category of agnosticism?
Well, atheism is simply a lack of belief in a God. Now, an atheist can identify themselves as a category of atheist, which would be agnostic, and that would be me. I am agnostic and I'm atheist, just like someone could be Baptist and Christian. It literally is the same thing. That's what it is.
See, I mean, this may be my own personal baggage, because like when I was a kid, I asked my dad, why are we not atheists? Why are we agnostic? And he said, because you can't know. And because you can't know, you don't lay claim. It's hubris to say there is no God when
I
you
don't
can't
run around.
know if there's a God. So that's
Okay.
my dad. I'm just talking because I was raised agnostic. So
But
that was my.
I mean, I'm glad you're at least wrestling with this a little bit, because I don't say I know there is no God. Okay, I don't do that. All right.
Okay.
So I'm not in the type of atheist that you're. Now there are atheists that would do that. I get
Oh,
that. All right.
Oh,
So
very
you
much.
understand, I get that. Just like there are Baptists who believe certain things that a Lutheran doesn't believe in, yet they're both Christians, right? So I'm not an atheist who says, I know there is no God, right?
Okay.
I'm an atheist because my personal belief is that there is no God, okay? And I'm agnostic as well because I readily will say, I do not know if there is a God. And I also will say, I feel it's unknowable. So I literally am both. And it's a common usage of these terms. And I'm not a scholar. So don't get me wrong when I use the word
Neither am
academia.
I.
Okay. So understand, if I use the word academia, I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal. I have a high school education, Mike. Okay. So I'm not saying I'm so smart or I, have these degrees, but I do study a lot. All right. And I do study what academia has to say. And this is common knowledge. All right. It's common. I'm not saying anything strange.
I don't have the greatest of respect for academia these days. So.
Well, I mean, whether you like it or not, I'm not saying anything unusual. All right. I think
it just is for me. Like I said,
it's
I mean,
unusual.
this was my dad was a very logical, rational. I mean, he's an engineer, and so his explanation to me of agnosticism just it made a lot more sense. It's like, if you can't know something, then why? See, I don't know. I keep going back to making the claim. Then you say you're not making the claim, but it's a belief. A belief is, how do you phrase it without using the word claim? You're taking a position.
Well, I mean, if you say
You're taking a position on something that you know is unknowable.
I'm taking
is
a
that rational?
position as a belief or lack of a belief, right? Just like you are taking a position of a belief or a lack of belief. You believe in Jesus. You are a Christian.
All right.
Okay.
And
I
I don't
don't.
believe in abiogenesis because
Okay,
it's
but
functionally impossible.
I don't believe in God, so I'm atheist.
So therefore, you have to believe in abiogenesis, and
No,
that.
no.
Okay,
This
explain
is where
that
you.
to me then.
Yes,
How
this
can you
is
believe there's no God, whatever you want to call him, the great designer, any other word you want to use, but believe that life could come from chemicals and electricity?
okay. Separate issue, just like whether you're Baptist or Lutheran.
It's not really
Separate
though.
issue from if you're Christian. It's a different issue. All
Okay,
right.
hold on. So by your atheism, are you saying you don't believe there is, or you don't believe in? Because there's a difference.
Okay. I don't believe that there is any supernatural gods.
Okay, now explain
And
about
that alone, that one thing makes me atheist.
Okay, then
Right?
how do
Now,
you get light?
right now, after establishing that I'm atheist, you can then ask me questions about what I think about how all things came into being, what I think about other issues. All right. Yes. And then you can start to categorize me, if you want, as a type of atheist. See, now you can start doing that. All right. Just like I could ask someone, are you Christian? And they say yes. And I could say, okay, now I understand that. But now I want to know, do you believe in once saved, always saved?
All right.
All right. And then now we start bringing it down to other things. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do, but categorically, if your personal belief system is that there is no power greater than, are you a materialist atheist?
Okay, now you see, we're getting somewhere, Mike.
Right. Do you believe in any metaphysics?
Yeah, we're getting somewhere. But you see how you have to ask me that?
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I'm going to answer, but I want you to see why you have to ask me that, because you wouldn't know unless you asked me. All right, because when I say I'm atheist, it
I
doesn't
automatically
cover
jump to the. I do. I assume and I jump to the materialist atheist.
okay, because it doesn't cover that, right?
Right.
Right. You got to get more into it to establish those things. All right. So, am I a materialist or a naturalist? I think so. Yeah. All right. Why I say I think so is because I haven't totally got into all that philosophy with, what exactly it is, but definitely I could say that I don't believe in anything supernatural, so that would make me a naturalist in the way I think. Yeah.
So you don't believe in anything metaphysical?
Metaphysical.
Actually, that might be a different question, but
yeah. What I would have to ask, because I like to be honest and straight. What do you mean by metaphysical? And then I could really answer it.
metaphysical would be outside of the realm of the physical four dimensions that we can perceive. Height, width, length, time.
Well, like for example, I do believe in concepts like love, like many things I could think of that
So
would
you don't
fall
just think those are
outside of.
you don't believe. See, the materialist believes that's simply a chemical reaction in your brain.
Oh no, I do believe that, but I don't think it can be described as a physical thing.
Well, it would have to be physical
Right.
because it would just be a chemical reaction in your brain.
Now we're getting where I'm going to share with you my opinions.
Okay.
All right. I don't see it as just a chemical reaction in the brain. All right.
So you think there's something metaphysical?
I see it as a chemical reaction in the brain that produces thoughts. And I guess you could say a thought maybe is metaphysical. So if that's what you mean, yes, I believe in
Well, see,
thoughts.
okay, I'm going by. So a strict atheist materialist would just think that thoughts are like programs running on the hardware of your brain. So
Yeah, I don't know that, and I wouldn't go as far as to call myself that. But in generally speaking, I would be comfortable saying I believe in the natural world, and I don't see any reason to believe in things outside of the natural world. But I view things like what you call metaphysics, or what we're talking about, as things that, and you could be an atheist and believe this. Okay, that's what I'm trying to show you.
you just
Right?
can't be a materialist atheist.
Yes.
All
All
right.
right.
All right.
But
Question: have you ever had deja vu?
yeah.
Isn't that
It's not often, but
yeah right? But you're like, I've been here before and I've done this before. What the heck is going on?
yeah,
Right?
I have experienced that. It's been a long time.
My brain didn't just glitch or the record didn't just skip. This is a thing. I don't know what it is. And nobody really does know what it is. But that's a moment of what you would call a metaphysical, like inexplicable, weird thing. Have you ever been somewhere and you just felt that someone was looking at you and you turn around and they are?
Well, yeah.
Right? That's not a physical perception that we're capable of.
No, I believe in intuition, if you will.
Oh, that's
Right?
interesting.
So
Yeah, intuition wouldn't
you
qualify either. Yeah.
can be an atheist and still believe in intuition and stuff like
Okay, I'm
that.
just seeing how far away we're getting you from the materialist atheist aspect.
Yeah. Well, I said I didn't
Well,
really
look.
go through all this, but
Buddhists.
no.
Buddhists are atheists, but they believe very much in the metaphysical world. So it's like
Yeah.
you might end up
I've
chanting
spoken,
every day to.
Mike, I've spoken with atheists who have no problem speaking about what some people would describe as spiritual. Okay. I don't think I'm in that category, but yes, there are, like, I'm sure you know the famous atheist Sam Harris.
I'm not really
Right?
familiar with. My hair his name all the time though.
Okay, he's very, very popular in the atheist world.
Oh,
He's a what do you call it? Neurology is his specialty, the neurosciences,
all right.
and he has written books about meditation. Right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So point being is that there are atheists that consider themselves spiritual. All right. Not saying I'm one of
Yeah,
them.
the entire
but
Buddhist world is that.
yeah, Buddhists, a lot of people think of Buddhism as being atheistic. All
Yeah,
right.
my mom's Buddhist.
Okay. So I think I've made my point. Just saying you're atheist doesn't define you as these other categories or
Okay,
other.
then just recognize that when I'm using the term atheist, I'm using it in the materialist atheist sense.
I think you're using the word atheist.
And I might be hitting some people with this shadow
Yes,
shot.
you're using the word atheist
Scatter shot.
in one way maybe of seeing it.
It's probably because because of my background, as I explained already, and B, because I do watch a lot of debates, and almost every single one of them, the person debating is a materialist atheist. So it's like there's not a lot of Brooklyn Loos out there making the I'm an agnostic atheist argument.
Well, I must say, it's very common. I'm guessing, and I want to talk to you man to man about this. All right. I'm guessing you take in a lot of Christian content. Right?
I take a lot more debate content than Christian
okay.
content.
I make a point to take in kind of an equal amount. All right. It's one of the reasons.
That's what debate is. You got one on each side.
Yeah. But I'm saying like even content, forget debate. Just even like I follow you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't follow you because you think like I do.
Right. Yeah.
I don't feel I need to think like you do to follow you.
Right.
Right. What I follow you because I want to hear what you have to say. And I think you represent, for me, a certain type of Christianity that's prevalent in our country. All right. So I like to hear about it. I really do. I'm not a closed-minded person.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, you're familiar with me. I'm very anti-denominational. So it's like you go through here. We've got Joe is a Greek Orthodox. Tina, I don't remember what Tina was, but like, we've got probably Baptists and we've got Catholics in here sometimes. And it's, to me, that's my position, is I hate the division of the church. We all agree on the basic tenets, and let's just be the family.
United.
Yeah.
Well, I used to be
Tina's an
that type
ex-Catholic
of Christian too.
Devil's Air is an agnostic theist with Catholic background.
Oh yeah. By the way, Mike, I want you to think of this. Let's say you're a Christian, you believe in Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
you go to a non-denominational church,
Mm-hmm.
But someone asks you, and I'm not saying you in particular, I'm just talking about a person, to show you some of the points I'm trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you ask them, well, do you know absolutely for sure and can prove that the Holy Trinity is factual? And the person turns to you and says, no, I really don't, but I believe in it. All right. That person would be an agnostic Christian. Okay. Because they say, no, I don't know for sure. Right. But I do believe these things, and I want to believe them and do believe them. But if you're asking, do I have absolute knowledge of those things? I may say no.
See, I think that's where we
literally would be agnostic but Christian.
Because I think agnosticism is a position. It's not simply the reality that you don't know a thing for absolute sure. It's the position, and you stated it earlier, it's the position that you cannot know.
No, it's both. I mean, the definition includes both. It's either or. All right. It's either.
Well, I mean, in that sense, someone said it earlier, solipsism, you can't absolutely know anything. So you have to be agnostic about everything.
I think if most people, this is my own personal feelings on this, if most people get really serious about what they know and don't know, they don't know as much as they think they know. So yes,
right. But
agnostic,
you can't sit there and claim to be agnostic about everything. That's why it's saying you're not agnostic about anything is taking a position that you don't know.
Yeah, but I'm not agnostic about everything.
Nobody is. That's what I'm saying.
I'm agnostic about
I
God.
know, but I'm just saying logically and practically, if you're going to make the claim that you just said, that someone not absolutely sure about the Trinity is somehow agnostic about the Trinity, that's not the position they've taken, is that they believe in the Trinity. Agnosticism is saying I'm not taking a position on whether or not there is a Trinity.
Yes, but there's this one little nuance here. All right. And that nuance makes the difference between how you're speaking about it and how I'm speaking about it. All right. The nuance to it is that you can literally, like myself, be under the idea that I do not know if there is a God. That simply makes me agnostic.
Right.
Right. So I fit that word perfectly. Okay.
Right.
But I also can definitively say, I don't believe there is. I don't have faith in that. I don't have that belief. Okay. So that definitively makes me atheist. So that's why I told you I am both agnostic and atheist. Now, again, we know that some atheists may say, no, I definitively can tell you there is no God, and I'm willing to debate you about that.
Okay.
All right.
Are you
But that's
agnostic
not
on?
me.
Are you agnostic on the flat Earth?
I think and believe that the earth is round or spherical. That's what I
Do
believe.
you know?
Not with absolute perfection, no.
So you're
But,
agnostic on the flat Earth.
in a very slim way, because
In the exact same way, Lou.
no,
In
it's
the
not the
exact
same.
same way.
Because we have spectrums, right? I mean, like, I could say, talk in terms of likelihood in my mind, right? I may not know something, but if someone comes to me and says, well, does this make sense? And I can say, yeah, likely that's probably true. All right. But I still may not know with absolute certainty, right? So
But you wouldn't say you're agnostic.
it's what I say doesn't matter, really. It's the fact is that you can be agnostic almost about everything. That's true.
Right. But you
or there
wouldn't
can be
use
things
the
you're
term.
not agnostic about.
But you wouldn't use that term because you're quite right. We do not have absolute knowledge of just about anything. So we could just use that term ubiquitously on like freaking everything, right?
Right. Yeah,
But we
you
don't.
can.
That's not how we use the word agnostic in.
No, I
parlance.
notice how I said you can. All right.
Right.
Because
but
I
you
don't think that would be the best usage of the word.
Right.
But
Same as saying that someone who hasn't studied the scripture enough to know that the Trinity's in there to say that they don't know but they believe, you wouldn't call them agnostic on the Trinity. Because that's the same ubiquitous definition that you'd be using for being a flat earther.
Agnostic implies either a lack of knowledge or something that is literally unknowable. I use that silly analogy in my comment to you about how many molecules were in the corpse of Shakespeare. Now, I know it's silly, but I was trying to make a point with it, all right, that I hope you could understand. I totally think that is unknowable. It's unknowable by me. It's unknowable by any human being, that how many molecules were in the body, the corpse of Shakespeare when he was found dead. Okay. So
when he was found dead, you mean in the past. Okay.
Because of that, if you were to ask me, I'd have to say I'm agnostic on that. I don't know how many molecules were in the corpse of Shakespeare. So I'm agnostic, and that's not, and I use that bad word ignorant, but I'm not unintelligent. It's just, it's an unknowable
I don't use the word
thing.
ignorant. See, that's I don't use the word ignorant as unintelligent. I use the word ignorant more along the lines of agnostic. So you just don't know.
And that's why I was trying to tell you I had a poor word choice. And I admitted that to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't think it was a good word choice. Because I think if I would have used the word unintelligent, would be more clear. All right. But nonetheless, ignorance, right? And I really do I take this stuff serious, because I take what I say seriously, right? I don't want to say something that I don't think about.
All right.
So I did research on ignorance. Okay.
Agnostic.
And ignorance doesn't include things that are unknowable. Okay. So, like, if someone doesn't know how many molecules were in the corpse of Shakespeare, they're not ignorant, even though they don't know something.
Right.
All right. Because it implies that whatever it is actually knowable. That was my point on that.
Right. But it's only your belief that God is unknowable.
Yeah.
It's not a point of fact that God is unknowable.
I'm fair. You could know God. right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm not saying that's impossible. All right. I'm saying I don't, and I don't believe it. That's it.
Right.
All right? You see, if I were to say it was impossible, then I would be the type of atheist that I think you were referring to.
Right.
But I'm not doing that
Well, that's
because
good.
I
Then,
don't really know for sure whether you know a God or not. I don't know that, Mike.
yeah,
Right?
I do.
Well, good. but you know what an atheist will then say to you, right?
Right.
Prove it. Because saying.
But here's the
something
thing,
isn't-
and again, this goes to the difference between skeptic and cynic. I can sit there and prove it, but an atheist won't accept anything that I prove, or a cynic won't accept anything that I prove. A skeptic would consider it.
Well, I consider anything I hear. So I don't consider myself like closed-minded. I mean, I will consider anything that I hear.
All right. Well, I mean, you've watched the channel enough, you know that I came to faith from agnosticism because primarily the prophecy in the scriptures.
Right.
Prophecy being told outside of time, and then God saying that this is how you know someone speaks for me. They can speak stuff outside of time. If they say they speak for me and they can't say something outside of time, meaning what they say doesn't come to pass, or that's actually what he actually says,
Well,
then you kill them. Hold on. Then you kill them.
Yeah.
It's kind of a high bar.
Yeah, I know that.
Right?
Yeah.
And then Jesus says they have Moses and the prophets. All this whole part of the Bible. Jesus used this to prove he was the Messiah who was promised. Right? He said they have Moses and the prophets. If they choose not to believe Moses and the prophets about regarding him and everything that he was doing to prove that he was a Messiah, then they won't believe if he rises from the dead. That's a cynic, right?
Right, but when you say about the prophecy, it just is it makes me think of a simple question I would ask.
Mhm.
Why aren't Christians killing the charlatans who are making false prophecies? Because the Bible says that they should die, right?
Right. Well, that's Levitical law. You know this, Lou. Jesus came and fulfilled the law.
Right, but he didn't abolish it.
Right, but we don't live under the law. I mean, read the entire book of Romans. It's about we are not under the law.
I'm just
we are
saying
under
it,
grace.
and I'm not going to argue, theology. I'm just saying that.
Well, I mean, you grew up in it, so you know this stuff already.
I've dealt with it,
Yeah.
and I have my own views on it too. But
right.
I'm just saying.
And you're asking questions that you know the answers to.
No, because some things are just interpretations. All right. When all the years I was a Christian, I knew Christians who disagreed with me, and I knew Christians who disagreed with each other. All the years I was a Christian.
Sure.
Okay. So that when we're talking about theology, I don't think we're talking about absolutes. We're talking about beliefs again. Someone is very strong in their conviction about something, but the Bible is interpreted. There's no way around that. That's something that I don't think anybody can get around. I mean, we read it, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You read it, I read it, everyone reads it that reads it. If we just read it and you got together the group of people who read it and you start asking theological questions, you're going to get different answers. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about. I don't want to get into theology because, I mean, what a rabbit hole that is, right?
Yeah. But we also have, 2,000 years of church history, and where, I mean, like I said, Romans very clearly expresses why we don't follow the law, right? We don't follow the law because Christ fulfilled the law. He didn't abolish the law because the law is still right and perfect, but we've got the entire of church history. We don't
Yes.
we don't kill
yes
people for that anymore.
Yes.
That was very much the
I got
Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy, Levitical, that's for a set in time and prior to the coming of Messiah. The purpose of all of that was to bring Messiah.
I gotcha, and that's your theology, all right? But there are other
Well, it's the theology of the entire church for the entirety of Christianity.
Christian tradition. I consider that, but that's not sola scriptura. Right?
It's in Romans.
No. I'm saying when you're talking about throughout Christian history, they didn't do something, right? I think that's fine, but that's not literally sola scriptura, because when you go sola scriptura, you can't bring in that. You can, but it doesn't have a meaning.
Well,
you
asked the question, why don't we do this thing? I pointed to Romans. I didn't point just to church history. I pointed to Romans, and then obviously Polycarp and friggin' all the guys that followed the early church fathers who were doing what the apostles who were taught by Jesus taught them in the scriptures. They followed that course from the beginning.
Well, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Are you the type of Christian that would be once saved, always saved type of Christian?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you get that from the scripture,
mm-hmm.
right? Now, you know, there are other Christians who also read the scripture that will debate with you on that and take a different position. So they're both you're reading the same scripture as they are, all right? And yet you're going to have different interpretations of that scripture. And they have church history on their side. Because if you go back and study church history, you're going to find that concept really didn't come around until John Calvin. That was not the belief of Christianity prior to the Reformation. All right.
I would have to look that up. If you have anything,
yeah.
You can
no. I mean, I didn't come on here to,
No, because
I want you to know we're not going to get to the bottom of these things. Ain't gonna happen.
That's all right. And you know what, Lou? It'd be fun to just do this on another show, but I never even got to Job. See, this is why I didn't want to come down before I read Job.
I wanted to jump in and try to explain myself what I was trying to say about something I am. I'm an atheist and I'm agnostic, and I try to explain why I can say that. I think I've accomplished that. All right. But theology is another thing. All right. That's another thing. But I appreciate you even spending a little time with me, Mike. I do.
For sure, buddy.
And I follow you again because I like to hear Christian perspectives. Okay?
Yep. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it a lot, Mike.
See you in the chat. All right, buddy.
Be well.
You too. All right. I am going to try to get to Job 29 here. And that was fun. Gosh, I should do that. I like having these conversations, and I like having them here. I don't think that's true because Calvinism has a different view from once saved, always saved. I'd like to look that up. What the heck? Why did this? Oh, it went to chat 29 verse 1. Dang it. What? 29 verse 1. All right. Yes, DJ, we're getting to Job. Moreover, I just appreciate Lou coming in, and that was a fun little conversation. I would like it'd be fun to do sort of a little I don't know if you want to call it a debate show, a conversation show. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, moreover, Job continued his parable and said, "Oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when God preserved me, when his candle shined upon my head, and when by his light I walked through darkness. As I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle, when the Almighty was yet with me, and when my children were about me. When I washed my steps with butter, and the rock poured me out rivers of oil. When I went out to the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street, the young men saw me and hid themselves. The aged arose and stood up. The princes refrained talking, and laid their hand on their mouth. Wow, Job must have been quite the muckety muck. The nobles held their peace, and their tongue cleaved to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard me, it blessed me. And when the eye saw me, it gave witness to me, because I delivered the poor that cried, and the fatherless, and him that had none to help him. The blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness. This sounds like pride. Interesting. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My judgment was a robe and a diadem. I was eyes to the blind. I was feet to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not I searched out. And I brake the jaws of the wicked and plucked the spoil out of his teeth. Then I said, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days as the sand. My root was spread out by the waters, and the dew lay all night upon my branch. My glory was fresh in me, and my bough was renewed in my hand. Unto me men gave ear, and waited, and kept silence at my counsel. After my words they spake not again, and my speech dropped on them. Mic dropped on them. And they waited for me as for the rain, and they opened their mouth wide as for the latter rain. If I laughed on them, they believed it not, and the light of my countenance they cast not down. I chose out of their way, and sat chief, and dwelt as a king in the army, as one that comforteth the mourners. Job with the first ever mic drop. I know, that was like, look, I don't want to say Job is prideful, but dang, that's like, I mean, he's just probably speaking truth, but he seemed to be pretty dang freaking high on the hog there, if you ask me. Kind of mostly what I got out of that. I guess maybe it has to be expressed, right? Especially after he's been berated by his three friends all this time. See what the chat has to say about it. Calvinists believe in the preservation of the saints, which has to do with their predestination beliefs about the elect. There are differences. Prayers to dead from the living seems counterproductive to me. Prayers for the dead from the living. I've got sort of an I want to say unique, because I'm sure somebody else has thought of it, but can you pray for the dead? Who are you praying to? Who are you praying to? You're praying to God, Jesus, God, the Holy Spirit. Is God outside of time? Yes. Can God affect things outside of time? I'm going to leave that a pregnant question to let you ponder. I don't think you can pray for the dead in time. But can you pray, God, can you make sure that before so-and-so passed away, they had come to a relationship with you? Because you don't know. You have no idea what the last moments of anyone's thoughts are before they die. So I don't think it's in any way wrong or antithetical to anything the Bible teaches that you can pray for those who've passed on already, because God's outside of time and he can affect things outside of time. Which means I just did answer it. I didn't leave it as a pregnant question. That's my position. if you want to pray for people that you can pray for Hitler if you want to. Who knows? I mean, he did have a good 40 years after the fact to come to know Jesus before he died. In Argentina. So pray for the dead, i.e. those not born again. Ooh, there is a whole nother take on it. I like it. I like it, Johnny Torch. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. That's it for today. A little bit over, but that was a great conversation with Lou. Maybe we'll do one of these days something where it's just not a cross-examination. I'll just jump on and do a chitty chat with whoever, any atheist agnostics want to come in the stream and discuss these things. I thought it was a lot of fun. Anyhow, that's it for today. God bless you all. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you on the next exciting episode of Cross Examinations. Bye.